Oklahoma City takes a 3-1 lead in the series as they go back home now for a chance to clinch a spot to go to the NBA Finals. Huge bounce back after losing by 42 points to the T-Wolves the other night. This series is over. This series is over, guys. Having watched that game, having watched the whole game, Oklahoma City dominated by a lot more than just the 2-point win at the end. It was a free throw contest. Gilgeous-Alexander had a rare miss with about 8 seconds left. That doesn't take away from how clutch he was throughout the night. I'm going to get into that. But in reality, Oklahoma City kind of controlled this game for most of the second half. They had an 11-point lead in the third quarter. Every time Minnesota made a run, OKC was right there to respond. They got a lot of help, obviously, from Jalen Williams, who had 34 points in this game. Chet Holmgren had 21 points, but the big story with Chet Holmgren, 3 blocks in the game. That was huge. OKC's defense did step up when needed. Minnesota, the reason I think the series is over, I mean, losing a home game like this is bad enough. You lose at home, you're down 3-1. I don't see how they come back. But more importantly than that, it's not like Minnesota didn't come out red hot. They were 5 of 8 from 3 in the first quarter. There was actually a period, I think they made 4 straight 3-pointers, and it looked like they wouldn't miss. Mike Conley got that thing sparked and going, and I really felt that Minnesota had a great chance at controlling the game after how they played in the first quarter, and then OKC just took over. And like I said, Jalen Williams was a huge part of this. 34 points, Chet Holmgren, 21 points, 3 blocks, and it didn't even matter that Minnesota's bench outscored OKC 62-27. Didn't mean anything. Minnesota's bench was not enough to overcome the dominance by Oklahoma City Stars. I mean, you know the story. Stars win in the playoffs, and Oklahoma City has their collection right now. They have their go-to guy. They have the other guys to help out with the supporting cast. They have everything you're supposed to have. Now, I get what people are going to say, the free throw merchant story. That probably, again, was out in this game with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm not buying it. Honestly, I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was just aggressive at getting to the line. Anthony Edwards could take some notes. He was 12 of 14 from the line, but OKC, you're going to look at the stat sheet and say they shot, what was it? Are we talking 21 free throws? Well, Minnesota shot 28 free throws. And OKC's free throws, a lot of them were intentional foul free throws at the end. So how could you look at the free throw disparity in the game and say that OKC is free throw merchants? That just doesn't make sense. It's absolutely ridiculous. So no, I'm not buying the idea that OKC that they're somehow a free throw merchant team as everybody's saying they are. That's just BS, guys. Come on. Not buying it. What I will say with OKC versus Minnesota is that kind of hurts me as a Grizzly fan to watch OKC do what they are doing, because this is the team that the Grizzlies should have had being built 3 years ago when they had the number 2 seed in the West behind Taylor Jenkins, and they never got to it. We got a lot of people to blame for that. John Morant at the front of it, but also Taylor Jenkins not doing his job. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. 19 offensive rebounds, I want to point out, for OKC and Minnesota. Both had them. Minnesota won the rebounding battle too. That's the crazy part. They won the rebounding battle, and they had better scoring from their bench. And the game was in Minnesota, and OKC won. Again, this series is as over as it can be. Oklahoma City is headed to the NBA Finals. I'm ready to call it. And honestly, I think they love their matchup either way, whether it be the Knicks or the Pacers. I don't see how they wouldn't like that. Minnesota, from their end, didn't get a lot of help from, Rudy Gobert played solid, had 9 rebounds, 13 points, but was 3 of 6 from the free throw line. Still showed a lot of issues, and Julius Randle just completely disappeared. Julius Randle completely and totally disappeared. 1 of 7 from the field was just an absolute disaster. I did not see that one coming, I will say that. But yeah, I mean, Chet Holmgren took him to task underneath the basket. It was pretty bad, pretty embarrassing. Julius Randle, I'm going to get to Anthony Edwards in a minute because of the legacy thing, but Julius Randle himself needs to take a long shower after that one. That was pretty embarrassing what happened with Julius Randle. He's the biggest one to blame. There was a little weird moment at the end, as I'm sure you guys saw, with the half second left on the clock. where a fan grabbed the ball as it was going out of bounds. I think the crazy part, and this is the other part where people call OKC the free throw merchants, before the ball was flying out of bounds, Gilgeous-Alexander was fouled going down. No one called it. And he threw the ball out to try to get the game over, and a fan catches it with half a second left on the clock. If the fan lets it sail, then the clock probably runs out. It's kind of weird that they even had a chance to do anything after that. I think that was a big problem. I don't think they should have been allowed to do something like that. So, honestly, I don't think people are going to blame the refs. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. They're going to blame the way OKC plays. I'm not buying that. I didn't buy that at all. And OKC, that was smart to foul up 3. There's a lot of debates about banning the intentional foul in the last 2 minutes, particularly when you have a lead. That's so stupid, guys. It's part of strategy. If you're down by 3 and a team intentionally fouls, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have found yourself in a position where you're down by 3 at the end of the game. That's part of basketball. So I don't understand how that could be the case. Now, I'll be fair on this because I'm giving Chet Holmgren a lot of credit. There was one play where Chet Holmgren obviously fouled Julius Randle and got credit for a block in this game. There was one. And does that make a difference? I don't know. I know it was a 2-point game, but you got to look at the flow of that. Again, OKC kind of dominated pretty early on. And the moment when SGA too, I think the worst part of this game was when SGA, the thing that bothered me with the free throw merchant talking point was when Doris Burke said free throw merchant, when SGA was so obviously fouled by Rudy Gobert on the arm. So obviously fouled. And people got mad about that. And if you guys go to Twitter, it was ridiculous how lit up Twitter was with that. He's not a free throw merchant. Most of his free throws were legit. And people need to stop complaining about the fouling up 3. Those are my 2 biggest hot takes from the game itself, outside of the fact that the series is over. The biggest debates are OKC being free throw merchants, drawing fouls, and also the principle of fouling when you're up 3. I'm sorry, stop complaining about both. That's basketball. That's like complaining about shifts in baseball, which people do, and they've banned them now, which is so stupid, or tried to ban them. This is part of the game, guys. You foul when you're up 3 and the other team has the ball with 10 seconds left to go. I don't know, what would you propose the NBA do to fix that? What would you propose basketball do in general? Why is fouling when you're up 3 such a big deal? You got 48 minutes of basketball to watch. Basketball's always a free throw game towards the end, unless in many situations like this. I got no problem with it whatsoever. But the real story is not that. The real story is who didn't show up for Minnesota. And most notably, again, who didn't show up for Minnesota. The biggest culprit in that is Julius Randle, who played like hot garbage. Did get fouled one time in a place that wasn't called, but overall, Julius Randle was completely useless in this game, and I would put all the blame on him for what happened. So Julius Randle, if you're going to blame anybody for how awful this was, the biggest blame pie person is probably Julius Randle. It was a total embarrassment. Also, I mean, look, again, longtime Grizzly fan, love him, but from Minnesota's perspective, maybe Mike Conley needs to retire. He did not play well tonight. He actually got things going early. He had a couple of threes early, and you thought he was going to go off, but then he just wasn't that useful after that. And Minnesota got more from their bench than they got from Mike Conley in the backcourt. They only played him 19 minutes for a reason. So with all that being said, I'm not that high on Mike Conley being able to be that reliable much longer. Again, love the guy. He's one of my favorite people to ever play in the NBA. It was one of the great development stories and was really the glue of the grit and grind era Grizzlies. But he's really shown regression this year, and he showed a good bit of regression in the playoffs. I mean, the guy shot 40% from the field during the regular season. It's probably time for Mike Conley to hang it up, as much as I like the guy. And guys, trust me, I really, really like the guy. Mike Conley is one of my favorite players as a Grizzly fan, one of my favorite players in Grizzly history. I'll just have to point that out.